Welcome everyone to the Northern Illinois University Art Museum's virtual artist talk this afternoon, A Look on the Bright Side, the Sunny Side of Art with Chihuly Mars. I'm Stuart Henn, the museum's education coordinator, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and introduce our speaker. A few notes about this presentation. This Zoom event is being recorded so you can rewatch or invite others who are not able to join us live today. Once closed captioned and formatted for web viewing, you can stream a recording of this presentation by visiting niu.edu/artmuseum/events. I'll post all URLs in the meeting chat. To minimize interruptions, everyone has been muted except our presenter. Feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I'll help moderate those at the end of the presentation, time allowing. Programs of the NIU Art Museum are sponsored in part by the Illinois Arts Council Agency through federal funds provided by the National Endowment for the Arts, the Friends of the NIU Art Museum, the College of Visual and Performing Arts season presenting sponsor, Shaw Media, and the NIU Arts and Culture Fee. This exhibition and programming are part of the College of Visual and Performing Arts program, Rejuvenation, an artistic journey from trauma to recovery, Art Heals. This afternoon, our visiting artist, Chihuly Mars, is a graduate of the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. She has 25 years in the fine arts profession, working as an artist, gallerist, and museum administrator. She currently works at the Addison Center for the Arts as the Director of Communications. Her work creates a distinct body of woven bead mosaics on canvas, panels, salvaged glass, and other objects. Her work is currently on view in a Very Well, Thank You, The Arts as a Means to Well-Being, currently on view through May 15th at the NIU Art Museum. With that introduction, it's my pleasure to introduce and turn our screen over to Chihuly Mars.
Hi, everybody. How are you this afternoon? Turned out to be a kind of a nice afternoon. So hold on a minute. I'm having a little trouble. Stuart, I can't find my talk. Oh, wait, here it is. Nope. Stuart, can I have some help? Ah, there we go. Let's see if I can get that to work now. Okay. Hi, sorry about that. This is my first Zoom presentation that I've been the person talking. So it's a little harder for me. I'm sorry. Thank you for coming. And it's really nice to see you. And this is a look on the bright side, the sunny side of art. And let's get started. Stuart also already did a really good job of introducing me. He told you that I'm a graduate of the School of the Art Institute, and I kind of majored in sculpture over there. And nowadays, when I'm not making art, I'm promoting it at the Addison Center for the Arts, and I'm also active when it's not when there's no pandemic around. I'm also active at the Elmhurst Artist Guild, where I volunteer actively over there, and I exhibit with them as well. And then previously I worked, before I started working with the Addison Center for the Arts, I was working in museums, galleries, and I co-owned an art consulting firm for high-end furniture stores and their clients. And that's all while, I was making my own artwork and raising kids. Hi, kids. And then I started entering my artwork into shows again about 3 years ago. And that's how I wound up in Very Well, Thank You. So I said online, or I told everybody online, that we were going to chill during this talk. So we're going to try to relax and just have a nice time. And as an artist, you might be expecting Bob Ross references, but I'm not a painter. So what I have instead is the Bob Ross of science. And that's right, it is Carl Sagan. So he's the mind-blowing guy who's going to take us through the universe today. I don't know if any of you remember Cosmos on PBS back in 1980. But he did that wonderful show, and it's a continuing influence on me to this day. He and his collaborators showed us our place in the universe and encouraged us to appreciate and explore it. So we are going to chill today and take our own trip on the ship of imagination. And let me tell you, to this day, I still watch science documentaries all the time. And I'm reading, I'm reading science books and reading articles and following scientists and stuff on social media. So, so this is something that I've carried through with me my whole life and continues to influence my work and my life. And so here's a piece that I did about Carl Sagan. And this I did in 2008. And what you see here is there's like a bunch of suns and then some pinwheels that sort of stand in for the Earth in there. And then at the very bottom of the vase is a sort of a galaxy shape. And if you ever have a chance to see any of my glassware in person, please take a peek inside to the vase, because a lot of times I'll have a little surprise on the bottom. I like the interplay between the outside of the vase and then another very beautiful design inside. So even though all those beads are woven on the outside of the vase, I use these clear glass vases so that that design will show through and the light will come through into the inside as well. Okay. So I am, I'm inspired by science and science imagery, especially astronomy. And here's a passage from The Human Cosmos, Civilization and the Stars by Jo Marchant. I hope I said her last name right. Beliefs about the cosmos have always influenced art. Just look at how the images of the sky have changed through history. Ancient depictions, hold on, I can't see because this is a bustle with mythical creatures and gods. Whereas the Renaissance painters, just like astronomers, replaced celestial beings with points of light. But the connection between cosmology and art goes much deeper than simply how we paint the stars. Changing ideas about the nature of the universe, about the type of space that we inhabit, inevitably shape how artists depict reality itself. And I totally agreed with her on that when I read that passage in her book. And I do recommend the book. So if you have the opportunity to read it, or there's also an audiobook version, go please. Oh, and it was also given to me by my daughter who is listening in here. Thanks, Natalie. Okay, so moving on. Let's see what's going on. I see. Okay, there we go. So again, oh wait, I missed a slide. Wait, oh, here we go. So this is what made me an artist. This is kind of personal. When I was 18, I had an awesome dream, and I haven't had one of these dreams since. And it's very much like the type of dreams that William James talks about in The Varieties of Religious Experiences, where people report visions of the world that are more colorful and beautiful than what our actual eyes can see. And it was just like that. And it was utterly gorgeous. And like I said, I've never had a dream like that again, but it was so influential that I've been trying to recreate that look or that experience ever since. So, and it was very, very relaxing. I woke up from that dream just feeling very peaceful, and it was fantastic. The interesting thing, I cited William James's Variety of Religious Experiences. The dream had nothing to do with like Christianity or Islam or anything like that. It was just very kind of matter of fact. I was just out in the landscape and things looked fantastic. So, so that's a big influence on me. And that's where I picked up the idea of using glass beads. Glass beads offer me the ability to get as close as possible to mixing and combining all of a bunch of optical effects to get a very rich and vibrant layered look, which is, it comes as close as I can to what I experienced in that dream. So yeah, so this is this spring from 2019, fairly recent piece. And this is Teaming. This one's also very much based on that dream. Older pieces, much older piece. Okay, and then I also learned from other artists. So we have artists like Alma Thomas, who I love her colors, and of course her compositions. I love the simplicity of her compositions. Lisa Liu, of course, she also works with tons and tons of beads. I mean, she's another one who's buying her beads wholesale by the crate. And then Oliver Eliason, you will see him again later on in this presentation. Trevor Paglin, he's another one who you will see again very soon. Banksy, he didn't make it into this presentation. Dred Scott, and he's not in here either. Yayoi Kusama, I think she is. Nick Cave and James Terrell, plus a ton more artists. And every day, if you ask me who inspired me, what artists inspired me, I'll give you a different list, because I'm that. I love so many artists. Okay, so very well, thank you. This is from my artist statement, and it is healthy for us to be mindful of our place in the universe. And I gotta move this over a little bit. And our home world. By doing so, we can overcome draining ruminations or mitigate stress and minutiae of our daily lives. We can refresh and reboot our attitude and perspective by periodically expanding our focus and immersing ourselves into the big picture. By seeking to understand and appreciate the sublime, I can't see this, vastness of our universe and celebrate our place in it, we can lead happier, healthier lives and perhaps be better able to cope with life's challenges. And that's by me. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or a member of the clergy, and your mileage may vary. So this is just a suggestion. I'm not telling anybody how to live, God forbid. So it just might help some people. Let me make sure I got that right. Okay, so our place in the universe, let's think about that. This piece is called The Flat Earth. And oops, it's a fairly recent piece from 2018. And I made this piece, most of my glassware I pick up from like Goodwill, secondhand stores. And I want to get as many secondhand materials as possible, just for the sake of environmentalism. And so this piece is on a little glass bowl, and it is a single weaving from the center out. And so as you're making these pieces, these round woven pieces, imagine yourself like spinning and spinning and spinning. So the earth spins, and of course I was spinning as I made the piece. And this one is part of a series in which, I was thinking about, naturally, the world is round. It's a globe. That's pretty obvious. But there are some people who really, really, really think it's flat. So I did this piece because just trying to get my head around that idea. And also because I thought about I was going to do a piece of going from flat to round and then to what would come beyond that. So that's where and then we're going to go and dig into that. Okay, so the flat Earth is sort of like, you know, people pretty much knew the Earth was a globe, at least since Greek times. So if people who think the Earth is flat, it's pretty much a folklore or a pseudoscience, especially if they're really, really, really trying to justify it. I guess you would call it more of a pseudoscience. So, or they just feel because they're walking across what feels like a flat Earth or a flat plane, there's the intuition that leads you in that direction, which is fine. And then this is the second piece in the series. So here we are, I'm doing a globe, but in this case, again, I'm going into the folklore and the pseudoscience of it. And this is called The Hollow Earth. And I was listening to this piece of music from, I think it's the 80s, from Thomas Dolby. Oh yeah, 1984. It's called The Earth Can Be Any Shape You Want It, any shape at all, dark and cold or bright and warm, long or thin or small, and it's home and all I ever had, and maybe why for me the Earth is flat. So I really love that song. It's really pretty, and it was a lot of fun to make the artwork too. Okay, so this is the round one. And then this is a conception of the hollow Earth from folklore or pseudoscience. And there's many. You can look up a whole bunch. And then here was the idea. And I did start a third piece in this series, a hyperbolic Earth. So it's just a hyperbolic geometry is just a geometry that curls in on itself. So basically, think of it this way. This big, spherical mass is, if you unfolded it and and unwrinkled it, it would be an enormous flat round disc. But because you're adding extra area to it, it starts to curl in on itself. And I thought that it would be fascinating to make an Earth like that. Well, it took forever and I really had to move on. So that piece did not get finished. I'm hoping that someday I'll come up with an idea of how to make it, but just in a way that doesn't take like 3 years. Okay, here's somebody on the internet. I thought this was fun. Somebody on the internet had the same idea, but he's using a different shape from hyperbolic geometry, and he calls it the Pringle Earth. And this is a hyperbolic shape. I think they call it the saddle shape or something like that, but you'll see it's been proposed as one of the proposed shapes of the universe, along with like the torus and other hyperbolic shapes like that. And this person is on Twitter as Pringle Earth, in case you're interested. It's kind of fun. And then we can start zooming out now, away from our place in the universe. And here is this is my latest piece. I just finished it last weekend. It's called Oceanic Panopticon. And this is from a new series that I've been working on since last fall, the Panopticon Series. And we, in this one, I am taking these safety mirrors that you would see, to help you get around a corner and a blind corner and like a loading dock, or many times they're often used to surveil for security reasons or safety or security reasons. And so this one it's kind of a metaphor for what are we watching and what are we keeping our eye on, to be very simplistic about it. And so that one I did about the Earth. And so that was taken from this satellite sourced image. And I am, in this series, I'm kind of digging into sort of data science and what we are surveilling with it and what we are learning from it, and what are the pros and cons of using that data. And this image is, I mean, it's a beauty. This is kind of interesting. I mean, this must have been made from a bunch of mosaics of different satellite images. And whoever made this one made an absolutely beautiful work of art, not just a scientific image, because they did some beautiful processing on it. So yeah, I actually licensed that from Getty Images. So that one's legit. Didn't rip that image off. Okay, so I'm talking a little more about the Panopticon series, and I'm still developing, I gotta move this over. And I'm still developing my elevator pitch for this, for the Panopticon series. So this could change over time. And this explores the pros and cons of digital surveillance and massive data collection. It's influenced by Trevor Paglen, Cory Doctorow, Shoshana Zuboff, Michael Mann, Zia Tong, Rutger Bregman, Olafur Eliason, and Foucault, and many, many others. So the series explores a desire for our big data tools to be guided away from exploiting and controlling each other's behavior, and rather towards studying and maintaining our home world to ensure a healthy future for humanity and the rest of life on Earth. So we'll see how that goes. And here's Trevor Paglen. He's one of the people who influenced this series. And he says, when we look up into the night sky, we tend to see reflections of ourselves. And there's Trevor standing under. This is I believe that this is an image of a type of, like a weather balloon that would fly up into the near space, and then it's supposed to reflect back on the Earth. So very similar to what I'm trying to do. And then I hope you guys can see, see the whole screen here. And then this is another one of his pieces. This is Orbital Reflector. And it is a sculpture constructed of a lightweight material similar to Mylar. It's housed in a small box-like infrastructure known as a CubeSat and launched into space aboard a rocket. Once in low Earth orbit at a distance of about 350 miles from Earth, the CubeSat opens and releases the sculpture, which inflates like a balloon. Sunlight reflects onto the sculpture, making it visible from Earth with the naked eye, like a slowly moving artificial star, as bright as a star in the Big Dipper. Now, I do believe that this is still in the conceptual phase. I know that there's been quite a, the scientists and are kind of arguing back and forth over whether or not this is a good thing to have floating around out in space, because we have a lot of concerns about space junk out there, and so I'm not sure if this is ever going to come to fruition, but I think it's a neat idea. Just thinking as a concept, it's a great idea. So, and then these are the two other pieces I've completed in the Panopticon series, and so these hang on the wall. And now we can head from the Earth to the Moon. And this is this is from the Pi series. And this piece here is in the NIU Art Museum right now. And the Pi series was named after a desire for me to find a way to get a nice field of sort of dappled color. And so what I decided to do was encode 10 colors of beads, one for each digit, 0 through 9, and then use the constant pi and just start using that as the formula for how I went around in a circle. This is another one of those pieces that you go from the center and then you spin and spin and spin and you go outwards. And so that one encodes the digits pi. And that way I got a rich field of varying color. And that was kind of fun. So this one is Pienimbus. I think that's what it's called. I keep calling it something else. Pi Moon, Pienimbus, anyway. And it is, where's my piece? Okay, so there was I can't find it. All right, there was it's coming up, I think. Okay. Next, I have, this is an influence for the next piece that's also at NIU Art Museum. So I'm a big fan of Rothko. And a friend of mine lost his mother. So I was thinking about what happens, what happens to us after we pass away. And I always found Rothko's as very sort of spiritual pieces. But the difference with a Rothko, my experience with Rothko is they feel like you're on a threshold and you're about to walk through it into a landscape. And there's usually at least one horizon in there and then a vast sky above. So you get a sense of great distances with a plane and then a great distance above you. I decided to eliminate the horizon and do kind of like a similar thing, but looking up. Imagine you were looking up through your fingers up at the sky. So it would be in the round instead of in the sort of the rectangular shape. And the field in the center, that dappled field of color, it's almost like a static, is after you've passed away or somebody has passed away. And then the parts on the outside, those are the ripples. That's what continues to go on forever and ever. For kind of in the way that, almost immediately after I finished this piece, they announced the gravitational wave announcement where they saw two black holes merge, and those waves just continue to propagate and slosh back and forth throughout the universe. And that's kind of how I envision what happens after we die. We may be gone, but our what we've done and our effects ripple on. And so that was sort of my way of trying to comfort a friend who is bereaved. And then here again is Nimbus Moon. And I'm just telling you here that was inspired by a 22-degree halo around the moon. Again, this is, you're looking up at the sky and there's like a circle in the sky. It just, basically that unifies the set of two pieces. And there's an image of a 22-degree halo with a nice sun or a planet in there too. And then I think this was the first piece I made in the Pi series. And I think so. And this one, so here I'm trying to find a nice dappled texture to stand in for the sun. And so I used Pi for that. And again, you're spinning around and around, you're orbiting the sun the whole time you're making it. And so I got a rich field of varying color. And again, it was an appropriate choice because I had to make many orbits around it, which was a lot of fun. And then you'll see that I have sort of magnetic lines and sort of solar flares represented there abstractly. And that's kind of like what I'm doing. I was kind of going after one of these sort of diagrams. And then here is a precedent for or actually it's not a precedent. Here's somebody else who's doing something similar. So here's Mildred Thompson from 1990. Wonderful painter. And here's another one from the same series, Mildred Thompson, beautiful piece. All right, another this is a very influential piece. This is the Weather Project done by Oliver Eliason. And this piece is really just more than that disc on the wall. He has a way of infusing an entire space with a color and an atmosphere. And it looks like he's done it again in that huge space in Turbine Hall. And unfortunately, I never got to see this in person, but every time I see images of it, it just floors me. It's really fantastic. So this piece still influences me. If you haven't seen it yet, we have down in Chicago, there's a new Oliver Eliason public art piece. This is on the atrium for Sears Tower. So it's right outside Sears Tower. And it looks like it's spectacular and I want to go see it really bad, but I haven't had enough guts to take the train down to the city yet to see it. That's atmospheric wave wall. So he designed that specifically for Chicago. And I think it's neat that he's got the Lake Michigan and the ripples from Lake Michigan. And then the little red bits kind of remind me of the stars on the flag of Chicago. So it's a really neat piece. All right, so my next piece, and this is from the Panopticon series. It's not from the Pi series, but it's going to be a sun panopticon. And I'm going to make this one out of a full dome security mirror. And it looks like what I'm going to do is place this on a floor and then, beat it. And then people can walk around it, orbit it. And I thought that would be pretty fun. I could also hang it on the wall or I could hang it from the ceiling, but I think I want to do a floor. And this is kind of what I'm going for. I'm going for this texture. And this person here, he does backyard astrophotography, and he gets some incredible textures on his solar photographs. He's really fantastic. And that's what the piece looks like right now. I haven't really started it yet. I've done another, and it's behind me here. This is another sun, and it is a sun that was done on top of a disco ball. So it's got a lot of sparkle. And then it also has the reflective beads on top of it. So these pieces really change what they look like depending on the ambient light around it. And they'll really change a lot over the course of the day. I really enjoy living with them. And this piece was about fusion and solar energy, mostly fusion. And this is really where I started to research sunny artworks, because I was trying to figure out what kind of color I wanted to get. And that led me to Jules Breton. If you've ever been to the Art Institute, the Song of the Lark has the most beautiful glowy sun in it. And I decided to try to get that color. And I think I did it. I think it looks pretty good. That sort of red, pink, yellowy sun. And he paints the best suns. And there she is singing. There is the Tired Gleaner from 1880. That's at Cleveland Museum of Art. I have never seen that in person. And then this is at the Met in New York. And I'm looking forward to the day we're harvesting the clean power of the sun through solar power or tapping into fusion energy, the engine that drives all the suns in the universe. Okay, here's another beautiful sun. This is by Félix Edouard Vallotton. Excuse me, my French is terrible. And that's Setting Sun in the Mist. Beautiful. This is another one by him. He did a bunch of series of, what do they call it? Soleil couché. Oh, here, Coucher du Soleil. Félix Edouard Vallotton, really beautiful. And this is a Dale Chihuly. So we've got a glass artist. I'm sure you've all seen his work. Here's an Alma Thomas. I mentioned her earlier as being a big influence on me. And so she did a lot of these sunsets, where she calls them fantastic sunsets, every single one. And then Yayoi Kusama also did a few suns. This one's from 1957, really early. And then I put this one in here because I own a Joseph Parker. So this is a sentimental favorite. He did a lot of these sort of visionary psychedelic suns, and I have one of his. This is a really pretty one here. I guess he had quite a following here in Chicago. I was reading up on him, and somebody in the city was really promoting him. And then lately, it was Carl Hammer, and that's where I discovered his work. So really pretty, kind of cool. And then, he's a visionary. He's also kind of an outsider. And then this is an Olafur Eliason piece from his website, and that's called Sun Path. So you're seeing a dim sun at the bottom, and then it's fully transparent at the top. Kind of interesting piece. This is another one of his with a big mirror in front and a floating on some neon or some kind of illumination in the back. And then this is huge. What's he call this? Oh, I can't pronounce the name of this town in the Ukraine, but it's a sunrise. And this is 60 meters tall, and it's illuminated. And he calls it a continuous sunrise in the town of Ukraine. So that's got to be fun to live with, to have this in the town all the time. Here's some shots of it during the day and at night. And then this is one of his spectacular geometric constructions, which I just can't get enough of. This is exploration of the center of the sun. And this piece is also powered by a solar panel on the roof of the museum, which I just love. And he's really into solar power, and he joined up with, or he started a partnership, and they started a company called Little Sun, and they are manufacturing portable solar lights that people from developing countries who don't have very what's the word I want? A lot of good electricity, reliable electricity. Many times the kids are doing their homework with kerosene lamps or other lamps that are not very healthy, and so they're able to use these instead and do their homework and have a little light in the evening instead of running those kind of noxious lamps. And they are doing all kinds. This is a little construction that his studio put together using the little suns. I just love those. And they're doing all kinds of other solar powered projects and little inventions. So watch out for them. Oh, and here's are you tired of this one yet? Okay, yeah, the weather project. All right, and also before we move on, I want to talk about Nancy Holt's sun tunnels, which is of course not really a depiction of the sun, but it certainly kind of glorifies the sun and makes us aware of it. And then this is James Turrell's Rodent Crater, which is, last I heard, it's still a work in process. And all the different separate spaces in the monument function as a pinhole camera or camera obscura and a naked eye observatory. So that should be stupendous once that opens up. And I hope that I live to have a chance to see it. And you can see more of that at jamesturrell.com. And then moving right along, we're going from the sun out to Jupiter. and I'll be on the asteroid belt. And this is a fairly recent piece. I think this was the first piece I did when I went into lockdown last March. So I just picked up this weird purple vase that I had from a secondhand store, and I just started to beat it, and this is what came out. So drops of Jupiter. And this is in regards to scientists think that possibly Jupiter and Saturn have diamond rain in their atmospheres because they have the right conditions for it, you know, the pressure and heat. So there's the detail. You can see some of the crystal pieces. And this is based on, you know, here's the stratification of the atmosphere of Jupiter. And then we go out to a moon of Jupiter, and here's Europa. This is again from a secondhand vase. This is an old one. And you get it, I hope to give a sense of this spinning moon and the fact that it also has a lot of water in Europa. So much so that scientists have proposed that there be a mission to Europa. So with a submersible. So this piece here is kind of an imagination piece, in which case it shows like this sea creature, because they're wondering if there's life on this ocean world. I mean, anywhere there's water, there's a possibility of life. And so here is my conception of a possible piece of artwork, or a little piece of life from Europa stuck to a submersible that we send to Europa. And this is from the Planetary Society. They did this nice rendering showing a proposed mission to Europa. And now we're going to leave the solar system, and we're going to follow some wandering stars. And this piece is in the exhibition. Very well, thank you. And this is called Exodus 2018. And here we are. We're zooming out into the galaxy. This is Spiral Disk 2015. Again, this is another piece where I'm weaving out from the center to the edge. And this is the Pinwheel Galaxy from NASA, from the Hubble telescope. And this one, I don't know if any of you know Douglas Adams, but he did those great books, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. And in it, the dolphins all escape Earth before it gets destroyed by aliens. And this is the dolphins taking off for the stars. This is so long, and thanks for all the fish. This is kind of interesting. So on the bottom of that piece, I told you a lot of times I have a surprise inside. This is an old piece, and I tried to I taped a picture of a galaxy on the bottom. And you know, at the time that I made this, I loved it, but now I hate it now. So I'd like to go back and change that, but I really can't. And then, so here's and this is Galaxy Cluster. This piece is based on, you know, they know that there are galaxies out there that all kind of cluster around. And then I really like the idea of doing it on a globe vase, because there is this, you know, the universe is expanding and it tends to like a little balloon. And I thought the globe vase was an appropriate choice for that. So here's another scientific image. This is the Sculptor constellation. And this is a galaxy cluster. This is Blue Star. Now, this is the piece that got me started on using reflective beads. I found this great secondhand vase, and I said, you know, I want to see what happens when I layer the reflective materials on top of a shiny subsurface. And I just loved it. So I'll be using that a lot. I'll be doing mosaics on top of mirrors a lot now. And here are some blue stars. And we come back to Carl Sagan. This piece is called Cosmos, and it is, of course, influenced by him and all of the other science documentaries about space that I've watched over my life. And I think, and then here's my contact information. You can also find this on my website at Jam Fine Arts. And I am on Instagram as Therefore I Jam. I'm also on Twitter as Therefore I Jam. Now, on Twitter, I'm not very professional a lot of times on Twitter, so I might misbehave. So be careful. Yeah. So, and that's it. That's my talk. Any questions?
Thanks, Julie.
Sure.
If you want, and feel free if you want to ask Julie a question, you can either type that in the meeting chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Julie, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Are you familiar with, it was like the early mid to 1970s, the Ray and Charles Eames Powers of 10 video?
Yes, and I almost mentioned it. Yes,
okay.
I didn't want to get too complicated, you know, bring in too many references, but yeah, that's what kind of, that crossed my mind. We're going to go out another magnitude here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. When you kept saying that, I had that phrase going through my head as well.
Yeah, the Ames.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Hi.
Hi.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This was great. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I think was it Blue Star, the one that you have the blue beads on the reflective?
Yes.
I love that. That's my very favorite.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was just wondering, it seems like you said that all of this kind of came from that dream that you had.
Yeah, the aesthetic, my color choices, my materials, that's
okay.
Where that comes from.
I was just wondering if even before that you had an interest in the cosmos or planetary.
Yes, because you know, the whole Carl, you know, cosmos started when I was just a little kid. Right. So that was way before I had that dream. And really a lot, the space imagery that I used wasn't part of that dream that I had. That was more of like an earth-based thing. So more of I have other bodies of work that are more like biology centered, and it goes more into that stuff. But the look, I'm still trying to get that look in everything. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Julie, Danae has a question.
Sure.
She'd like to learn more about your actual process. Do you individually glue beads onto the vessels, or you string them and fit them onto the vessel? Can you explain that weaving process just a bit more?
Yes, I do a lot of weaving, and as much as I'd like to abandon the weaving, it does make it very, very regular. So, and more kind of algorithmic. So in the case of my most recent series, the Panopticon series, because I'm referencing sort of digital media and data science and stuff like that, the algorithm that I'm using is appropriate to the subject matter. So I'm getting little hexagons out of it that looks very digital and kind of technical. And yeah, so the weaving is very important, and I'd love to abandon it, but I can't. And on top of that, once the weaving is done and I've placed those tiles, I will often go in to the negative space and then fill it in with individual beads. So it's a combination. There's a piece online right here that you see all the circles. Those are all woven, and then in between I have placed kind of like Huichol style. There's the Mexican Indians who they place their beads with wax on top of things, like whole side up, and that's what I've done. That's what I've done there. Any other questions about the process? I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any more questions in the comments or chat. Julie, thank you. And thank you all for joining us this evening or this afternoon for our conversation and discussion. Be sure to check out our events calendar for upcoming virtual events or a selection of recorded past events like this one. If you're watching locally, the exhibition runs through May 15th, and you're welcome to visit our website, niu.edu/art museum, to schedule a free, timed, masked, and physically distanced admission. Portions of the exhibition, Very Well, Thank You, The Arts as a Means to Well-Being, will be viewable in a virtual format online at niu.edu/artmuseum/exhibitions once photographed and added to our photo streaming site, if you aren't able to join us in the galleries in person. If you would like to discover more about Mars's practice, you can visit her website at jamfinearts.com. A special thanks to our guests, Julie Mars, and thank you all for tuning in as well. Thank you.